Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on our show. My name, as you may know already, is Jason Brand, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Supply Chain Solutions. And as always, this show wouldn't be possible without the behind-the-scenes work of our Director of Marketing, Vanessa Fry. Thank you so much, Vanessa. We have a special edition this week and a special guest with us today. But before I dive into some of those details and give a quick overview of the show, I want to have us all, as usual, take a quick moment of silence for the struggles that Ukraine is dealing with and they dealt with over the past year. Thank you. All right, so now today we have a special guest and a partner company that we actually work with on the show. That is Sourcing Insights. And we've worked with these guys for a long time, but we've known their team for even longer. And the SI team, to kind of give a quick intro, they've got this incredible ability to learn what makes an organization tick. And they have developed a powerful software tool that helps companies really visualize, understand, and make changes to some of these factors within their organization. And we've personally experienced how effective they are for our customers. And, we've been able to see and have some really deep and much more granular discussions because of the power that their team can offer us from a logistics analytics standpoint. And, I know we would not be nearly as far with some of our customers or nearly as successful with some of our customers if it wasn't for their involvement. So quick introduction to our guest today, Brian. Brian here, he joined the Sourcing Insights team back in 2017 as vice president. He brings over 30 years of experience to the table, and he spent many years as a mover and shaker in the supply chain industry. So he spent some time over at Wabash, and during his time over there, he redesigned the company's industrial purchasing consortium, and it resulted in a substantial increase in their purchasing power. So while he was there, and because of some of the things he did, he improved their purchasing power to over 4 billion, which is just amazing. But prior to that, he was still shaking things up. So he spent some time over at R.R. Donnelley, and he was busy implementing a logistics service division. And ultimately, they processed over 75,000 trucks annually over 18 different facilities. So I think the short and quick answer is Brian definitely knows what he's talking about. So listen up and take some notes. So Brian, hey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And so I know everybody's curious. So why don't you kick us off with just a quick idea of, hey, what is Sourcing Insights and what can you provide to your customers?
Sure, absolutely. So again, thank you for having me again, Jason. And when you look at Sourcing Insights is a technology-driven company, right? And we're here to assist our clients in making sure that they understand and to analyze their entire enterprise spend profile, right? So we're looking at everything that they spend their money on, right? So when you look at our technology platform, our technology is called Sourcing Shark. And really what it does is it gives the ability to bring their spend to give them visibility of their spend, right? And not only just give them visibility of their spend, but then start to break that down into categories or commodities, and to where they can start to look at that and be more strategic. And really, we look at everything in their spend, from everything but payroll, right? So you're talking logistics, transportation, you're talking insurance, raw materials, indirect materials, services. We look at everything. We have a saying here that's really, you can't save what you can't see. So for us, our services really begin with the visibility. And then we start to look at the controls around that, right? So we start to look at the controls around that procurement spend. Are the controls robust enough? Are they lacking in certain areas? And then we start to assess that as well. And really, when you look at the visibility, you look at the controls, that allows us to quickly start to look for savings opportunities across all of these different categories, really. And that's really kind of where the rubber meets the road, where we're able to take that complexity out of that spend and out of that procurement and really bring those savings to them. We will put together a detailed assessment for a company, right, that really looks at their complete spend, the visibility, the controls, and the savings, and then really start to help them put the plan together on how we do that. The great part about our technology is it's able to handle, multiple ERP systems. And I'm talking everything from SAP to QuickBooks. In today's world, because of merger and acquisitions, a lot of companies that we come in contact with have multiple ERP systems and struggle with how to pull that together. So what we're able to do is merge that data and really give them an entire look across it all. And then really start to begin to put to assist them increasing those controls and bring to that, that savings to the bottom line, and really take the complexity out of the whole process for the procurement side.
Yeah, honestly, Brian, and you guys do so much, and we personally have seen some of the areas you guys touch on. I mean, right
Sure.
now, you guys are internally working on our company and making sure
Yes.
the things we're sourcing are effective. And I know our
Correct.
entire executive team can vouch for just being blindsided by a few things that you just don't think about. I mean, it's
Right.
as simple as that.
Mhm.
Right. we got really heavily acquainted with you guys in the logistics realm because, when it comes to spend analysis, I mean, transportation and supply chain, it's a big nut. And, especially over the past couple of years. So what do you, and yeah, let's move to the next slide, because let's think, or actually, you know what? Yeah, let's move to the next slide, because, and I guess before we dive into some of the amazing stuff that we've really seen you guys capable of doing in the logistics side, why did you join Sourcing Insights? Because
it's very interesting. I mean, again, I've been in the supply chain world my whole career, right? So right out of college, started working with a transportation company. Went to Donnelly's, where we built that, which is today, or back then called Donnelly Logistics, right? So I was one of the first 3 or 4 people to start that, and really been in that. And then when I went to Wabash, started getting into the procurement side, and you start to see what tools are out there and what tools aren't out there, right? And where companies need their help. And when we put this company together, that was the great thing about it. We've all been in those situations. We've all been on that other side. So we know what people need. And to be able to, and that's what was great about the technology that we brought. And that's what makes it so fun about this job is that you get to see so many different clients in so many different industries, and you know what they need, right? Because you've sat in those seats before. So that's really what brought me to it.
I love that answer. I think just to kind of add to it a little bit, I think the past 20, 30 years specifically, it's so interesting as all these companies are coming online, and you got to see some of the, just some of the really antiquated stuff that even big organizations are working with. I mean,
yes,
you and me both know we know a couple organizations that run their whole business off of an Excel spreadsheet, and that's
it is scary. It is scary.
Oh my gosh. So okay, let's I want to learn more about you guys specifically in the logistics realm. So when you just kind of, what do you think your customers view you as far as the most effective when it comes to logistics?
Logistics, right? So the nice thing about it is we have their data, right? So we have our clients' data, and really what we're helping them do is really understand from a logistics standpoint is where they're spending their money and how they're spending it, right? So we're going to be looking at spend by carrier, spend by mode, and then really start to look at the monthly trends on that spend, right? And are those monthly trends, are they tracking with your sales, right? And are you building inventory, those types of things? And then we look at, contract compliance, which is huge. It's amazing when we go into clients and there's contracts everywhere. Everybody has them, right? And so we actually put in a contract management module with our technology that helps them manage that, and really starts to look at it from a compliance standpoint of, are you really paying what your contract said you were supposed to be paying, right? We all have these contracts, and then there's really no closed loop to say, are we paying what we're supposed to be paying, right? So we look at that. We'll look at payment terms analysis, right? So what kind of payment terms do you have with your logistics suppliers? And are you compliant with those, right? Are you paying them early? If you have 30-day terms and you're paying them 15, then why aren't you getting a discount? Those types of things. Or if you're paying them in 30, or if you've got 30-day terms, you're paying them in 45, then there's the opposite of that problem. And then we also look at duplicate payments. It's amazing, Jason, that people say to us all the time, well, we can't do that in our system. You can absolutely do that in your system. And with logistics and transportation, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but there's so many transactions, right? And there's so many accessorials that come in after the fact and those types of things. And sometimes your accounts payable department gets confused on all of that, right? It's a lot of moving pieces. There's reasons why you guys take that off of your clients as well, right? And then we take all of that data and then we'll partner with the supply chain solutions, right? To really take that data and then start to go down another level, right? To start to look at that lane and mode analysis, right? And really to look for opportunities where they can increase efficiencies, increase service, and really look at that total landed cost, right? So what we don't want to do from a logistics standpoint is, maybe we're saving some money on logistics, but we're causing manufacturing more money, or vice versa, right? We kind of call that moving the balloon, right? So if I push on the balloon one way, it's going to go the other way, right? So we have to look at that total landed cost.
Yep.
One thing we also do for our clients, and I've kind of coined this, is we want them to be the shipper of choice, right? And when you look at, and by that I mean is, in today's world, I've been in logistics forever. Years ago we used to say there was a driver shortage just to help sales, but there's a driver shortage, right? And we all live it, and we all know it now. And what I believe is we've got to work with our clients, and clients have to become that shipper of choice, right? So they have to be able to be easy to do business with supply chain carriers and logistics suppliers, right? And really, if you can reduce their costs by getting their drivers in and out in time and those types of things, then that's going to reflect on better pricing from those carriers. And quite the opposite, if you're a pain and you're getting those drivers where they're sitting around and then you can't pay them for what they're losing, then your rates are going to be higher.
Yep.
So again, it's kind of a combination of all of those, and really making sure that we're supplying them what they need.
I loved your answer. Also, that's such a wide berth, right? I mean, if you really think about it, there's so many of those opportunities for improvement that I know I've seen, companies want to tackle, but it's kind of the dust under the rug, because it's like, oh man, we don't have the manpower. We can't handle that. I love it. Honestly, like you gotta think of some of those little elements now, especially because I love that being well said. And honestly, I think we need to dive into that on a totally separate episode.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, because there's so many ways to be able to accomplish that fact, right?
Yes, and just tracking your spend by mode, and also tracking it in comparison to sales, and making sure oh my gosh, I can't even love that. So let's flip the slide real quick. So this is a really hot topic. We get this a lot. Obviously, the past couple of years, ocean rates have been unbelievable. We have seen them coming down as of late, but this is more indicative of other problems, right? It's not the ocean rates on their own. If inflation and demand, were stagnant, we see them right where they were before. So the thought process of switching suppliers has been heating up. We hear it on our show. We get emails after our show talking about it, occasionally questions talking about it. But for companies curious, first of all, do you guys what do you guys do for scorecarding suppliers? Do you guys have any capabilities?
Absolutely. And to your point, scorecarding is a hot topic. And most companies want to do it for at least for their top suppliers, right? Whether that be a logistics supplier, whether that be a steel supplier, right? You need to treat them the same, because they affect your production. And one of the biggest issues that we see is companies are thinking, okay, how can I do this, right? How do I tackle this monster, right? Because it is a monster. And not only how do I tackle it, where do I find the bandwidth within my organization to complete it, right? And whether that bandwidth be from your sourcing team or whether that be from your IT team. So what we've done is we've embedded a scorecard process within our technology sourcing chart. And really by, extracting the data points from our clients' ERP systems that, they already house them in their ERP systems today. The problem is they can't get that out, right? So, we were able to take that and then extract that data out of their system, and then analyze that and really put that into a scorecard process inside the tool, right? So we're using clients' data to look at on-time delivery, PO confirmations, quality, pricing, just to name a few, as you start that. And it's really about being able to use the data points that they already have, but ERP systems can't pull that out for them, right? So you need another tool on top of that to be able to pull that out, and then still give you the flexibility, because there are certain things, okay, do I have a long-term agreement with this supplier? Those types of things where you maybe want to manually grade, but so you have to be able to do what the system can do and what you can put in manually as well, and let the system and really take the burden off your team with that, right? It's because it is a burden, it's something that has to be done and really needs to be done, and there's a great benefit to doing that. But companies struggle with how to do it, and how do I have the bandwidth within an organization to be able to do it?
Yeah. And this is a total side note, total curiosity question. Do you see some companies that are just so embedded with their current suppliers, they don't see a value in scorecarding them because they just can't imagine going through the process of finding another supplier? So they're just stuck.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They feel like they're stuck, right? I mean, in reality, they may not be stuck, right? And what we look at is, you get caught in your own paradigm at times, and you only know what you know at that point. And we've got clients where we've looked at categories that they've not taken out to bid in 20 years. And we're not saying that
That's
changing this,
unbelievable.
well, but it happens all the time. And we're not saying that, you just we don't go in and just, we're just going to replace every supplier you have. No, we want to be able to work with the incumbents because obviously they're doing certain things for you that are very good. We just want to make sure from a service and from a cost standpoint that they're market competitive. Right? We're not asking them possibly to be the cheapest, but you know what we're finding is some of those ones that have been ingrained into there, that sometimes they know the business sometimes better than the client does, at least a portion of it. And I get it, uncoupling that is tough, but they still need to be market competitive, right? So you've got to be able to do that. You got to be open enough to at least take a look at that. And if you go back to that supplier, at least you know what that cost is, because today you don't know what that cost is to use that.
And and you make a good point. There's still, even if you're not really even considering switching, there still is value in greasing the wheels on that relationship a little bit more and making sure you really all understand everything going on. I mean, it's just going to improve both sides. That's really cool. And I think this kind of fits because kind of the second part of that question. And let's flip the slide over for this one. So this kind of comes down to, people are considering resourcing. There was a lot of initiatives back in August that were focused on, car manufacturers specifically, and looking at some of the future of EVs, right? And it needs to be mined. You need to get your raw materials outside of China and Russia, but this is the 8% of it is from there. So people are scrambling, right?
Right.
And companies that haven't had to do this in ages, or they had the one supplier because it was the obvious winner at this time period, now have to find someone else. So how do you guys help in this process of finding new suppliers? What do you guys, just kind of explain that.
Sure. So it really comes back down to what our technology does from a visibility standpoint, right? And that's one of the main reasons when we built Sourcing Shark, is why we saw those deficiencies in a lot of systems and a lot of ERP systems that from a procurement standpoint, and be able to be nimble and efficient when you're doing this, you got to use the data and be able to quickly use the data, right? I always say data for the sake of data is no help to your sourcing department. It isn't. You got to be able to take that data, that spend data, put it into categories, and then really let the technology take you from a tactical level to a strategic level. And in doing that in spreadsheets, it's very hard, right? We see it all the time, but it's tough. When we're looking at a category, right? So let's just say it's transportation, or let's just say it's steel. Then you're really starting to look at, now I'm looking at just this category, and now I'm starting to put a strategy to this category, right? Whether that's nearshoring, whether that's, working with the incumbents, whatever that is, you start to look at, how many suppliers am I using in this category, right? I have 20 suppliers in there. Why do I need 20? Do I need 3? Then I start to look at that and consolidate that, right? And start to look at, who am I using today the most, right? If I get one guy that's got 60% and one guy, and then it's a bunch of them, maybe I give one guy 60 and one guy 30 and one guy 10, right? So you start to look at that. You start to look at the part level data, right? So how much are we buying? What are we paying? And really starts to look at that pricing movement, right? And in the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years, the pricing movement on everything from services to raw materials, everything, indirect materials, everything's gone up, right? So we really want to start to track that and really paint a picture for our clients of here's what's happening in this category, right? And then once you've got that category analyzed, then you're really armed with the data, and you're a lot smarter than you were at the beginning. And now you can start to go out and really talk intelligently to new suppliers and incumbent suppliers, right? And really start to break that down. If you look at our system, we've got a little over $34 billion in client spend, right? So across multiple industries, right? So when we look at that, we kind of know what good pricing looks like, and our clients really look at us and we'll go out and help them with those RFQs and such, and that's what they're paying us to do, right? So, and really become an extension of their strategic sourcing team is what we really become, so that's really how we work with that. And it's really about being armed with that data and that knowledge, because knowledge is power.
I'm so glad you brought up that, you know, your the amount of spend that right now you guys are analyzing, because that is an incredible amount. But also, you made a really great point as well. You don't even need to start the process of them looking for another supplier, depending on obviously what you're looking at. Occasionally, you have enough data in your system to know, hey, this is a red flag right here. There's something fishy about what you're spending on this. And you guys, you guys have so many. We really can't do this over just a broadcast, but on ones, you guys have so many great case studies with specific companies that it's kind of hilarious when you sit down.
No, there is. I mean, and there's a few there's some on our website as well. That people can see, and again, we can dive deeper into that as well at some point as well. And it's for us, if you don't remember anything about our company, remember the visibility, the control, and the savings, because that's really what it starts to boil down to, right? So if you can get the visibility, you can't save what you can't see, put those controls around it, and then start to look at that from a strategic standpoint and really drive the savings to your bottom line. And it's about the total cost.
I want you to say one thing here right at the end. Why now? Why now? Why is it a good time right now to take a look at this stuff?
Because with the way things are going with all types of suppliers, right? Again, whether that be transportation, indirect, direct, companies, again, I think to your point earlier at the beginning of this, was that companies have just kind of been going along, right? And they're tactical, right? They're playing factory, right? And you know what? For years, we've compensated people for being firemen very, very well, right? Within the procurement department. Now, keep the lines running. Absolutely, you have to keep the lines running. But there's still another piece of that you need to be strategic. And especially in today's world, with the way the pricing is going, with the way supply base is moving, you have to be strategic. If not, you're going to be left behind.
Yep. Love that. Brian, thank you so much. Okay. And honestly, I can, it's unfortunate because we need to take all these questions and make a show on each one. There's just, you can hear it and you're like, we gotta dive deeper here. We're going to come back to this.
I know. And I have a couple questions myself here from our listeners. Question number one, I think Brian brought up that they have a lot of case studies in the website, but the question is, can you give some practical examples of savings in the logistics industry specifically? I will send their website on our follow-up tomorrow morning, but Brian, anything comes to mind that
definitely. We've got we've got multiple stories on logistics. I know one comes through, we had a distribution company that was on, they do a lot of small package, right? And they were with a 3PL for many, many years, and ran that through their 3PL and hadn't taken it out for bid for probably 6-7 years, right? And we all know that a lot's changed in small package in the last 6-7 years. So what we were able to do then is start to look at that, and we've gone out and worked with some other 3PLs that have a lot more volume than the 3PL they were using, and we're able to leverage that, and we're able to reduce their cost by like 8%, 8 to 9% on the small pack, which was huge for them. And also bring them new technology that they're able to use to then start to look at that and incorporate that into their technology as well.
Yeah, and I want to go further on that too, because so Sourcing Insights is also, because they've got all of this spend analysis, they also they have actually access to how much other people are spending in that lane. If you're doing the same lane as another one of someone else in their spend analysis, they can see that. So as a result, they can benchmark that without even needing to go through the whole benchmarking process. It just says, hey, we've got data in these areas. We've got enough data to say this is where the market's at here, and you're above market. I mean, it's a quick and painless way too of checking it out.
Perfect. Well answered. Another question I have, sounds like a long setup process since we're talking about so much data. How long does it usually take? It is a day.
Yeah, right. So we've got this down. A lot of ERP systems, we've already got scripts written, even down to QuickBooks, right? So we've got script written for QuickBooks. Typically, what it takes is a half an hour conversation that we do some screen sharing, and with the client, usually someone in their IT or procurement department or both. usually it's about a half an hour, 45 minutes, and we're able to help write that script and pull that data. It's not difficult at all.
Cool. Awesome.
We see a lot of different ones, so we know how to do that.
And I want to add to that as well, because you've kind of talked to me about this in the past. So like, as you guys have built your client base and such, you're building kind of more of these scripts, and the more scripts you have, the more you can pull from. And so the easier it is to onboard another company that is similar, or another area that is similar. Right. It goes from writing it from 0 to 100 to just making tweaks and changes to make it correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It just depends on what tables they're using compared to somebody else that's using the same system.
Yeah.
Perfect. I have one last question here with me. So if you have any more questions, write them in the Q&A box, or you can also email Brian or Jason later on. Last question that I have here right now is, you're not a 3PL, but are you a 3PL competitor?
So no. So what you should look at us as is an extension of an extension of your procurement team, right? So we're supplier agnostic, and clients pay us to go out and get them the best deal from a total cost, total service, right? So and what we have is we'll bring in subject matter experts. So if I need a subject matter expert in steel, I've got people I can bring in. I've got with transportation logistics, I can bring in Jason. I can bring in supply chain solutions. So we've got subject matter experts throughout all of those spends that we pull in, right? So and then what the client is paying us is to manage all of that.
Perfect.
I wish you could tell that story on your specifically. You had a couple raw materials that you were kind of analyzing for a company, and you had a couple experts get involved, take a look at it, and it was some really interesting, really interesting insight that came from it. But
correct. There's a lot of experts out there, and again, it's we're able to rely on all of that. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much, Jason. Okay. This was great.
Thank you.
It was great to talk to you, Jason. Close us out.
Yeah, Brian, honestly, absolute joy. And I know you bring up a lot of things that I know people are cringing at, like, oh, I know that. Oh, man. Oh, he's right. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out to Brian. They are extremely approachable. They make themselves extremely available. And at a very minimum, he can help point you guys in the right direction. And at a maximum, you guys can see a huge change in your organization. So we know we have. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us today.